If you have ever found yourself feeling like you need to be more like someone else in order to succeed, I think today's episode will not only prove that that's not true, but I also believe it will help you to stop comparing yourself to other people and lean into your unique strengths. My guest is Amanda Bucci, a business mentor and social media expert who helps entrepreneurs expand their social platforms, companies, and consciousness. As the founder of the Entrepreneurial Archetype Quiz, she uses her personality-driven methods to show people how to run their businesses from their soul's alignment. I don't want to wait any longer before we get to today's conversation, so let's do it. Welcome back to the podcast. I was so excited that this guest agreed to come on the show because after I heard her speak on a Zoom call for the mastermind I'm in, I knew that I needed to bring this conversation to all of you as well. And we're going to get into all the goods. But Amanda, thanks so much for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to be on your show too, that you agreed to have me on.
Well, we're just mutually so excited to be spending time with each other. And isn't this the best thing about having a podcast that like you and I have never actually gotten to connect one-on-one? What a perfect excuse to connect with people that you really, really want to get to know, but also do it in a way that produces content and value for other people.
Honestly, that's like the secret best thing of podcasts that all podcasters know. They're like, I do this kind of for myself and my audience also gets a ton of value.
Yeah. So anyone out there who has been thinking about starting a podcast, this is your clue, your hint.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to talk about so much of the work that you're doing right now on this show because spoiler alert for everyone listening, when she went over this with our mastermind, it really gave me such massive permission to stay in my own lane and really hone my own gifts. And I talked to so many of you who really are struggling with that as I do. I think we all do, looking around at what other people are doing and thinking, gosh, do I need to be good at that in order to be successful? And I know we're going to get to that in a minute, but I actually just want to start with you and having you share a little bit of your journey with everyone, because I think it's actually the perfect context to set you up to talk about what you're doing now. So you went from like almost pursuing nursing to the fitness industry, kind of like one of the initial fitness influencers, if you will, fitness coaches online, to business coaching and so much more. So how the heck do you go from where you started to where you are now?
Oh God, it's just like been such an unraveling of my own self-development journey. And I'm only 26 right now. So there's so much opportunity to grow into a person that you don't even know who that person's going to be in a few years when you do online business, social media, anything that forces you to put yourself in front of people and constantly check in like, is this who I am? Is this who I am? Is this who I am? Because there's so many places where it can feel yucky or wrong or resistant when we're not expressing ourselves fully in the work that we do, especially when there's so much feedback happening and everything. So I love what you talked about in the beginning, just saying that there's so much permission to finally be yourself when you learn about the entrepreneurial archetypes. And that's really why I made it. And going back into my journey, I started off sharing my fitness and nutrition journey when I was in nursing school, when I was 20 years old. And I absolutely loved it. I didn't feel like there were people in my environment that had a similar mindset or similar goals. And I found community on Instagram. And this is back when Instagram was really easy to grow. You can post really shitty pictures of your grocery cart and like still get people that are interacting with you. And now the stakes have just gotten so much higher and the level of quality has gotten so much higher. But yeah, I was doing all of the right things in hindsight. I was building community. I was doing giveaways when I hit 5,000 followers. I was engaging with everybody that was on there. I was offering tons of value all the time. Like, here's the workout that I did today. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's the food that I'm eating. Here's this, here's that. And it was all of the consistent value that I just felt so excited to share. And I started making YouTube videos when I moved from Rhode Island, which is where I'm from, to California, and I was documenting my bikini competition journey. And when I decided to leave nursing, which was really just like a career that I chose because I knew a couple things about myself. I liked helping people, my coach archetype, and I felt as though it was a respectable career from the adults that were around me, because who can expect an 18-year-old to know what they're going to do when they grow up?
Oh my gosh, right?
I mean, it's ridiculous. So I started to do this, and I got brand deals from supplement companies and clothing companies. And I was like, this is amazing. I got a couple of fitness coaching clients. I was like, this is just happening. It's really cool. I'm going to go all in with this instead, because it's where my greatest joy was. I felt so into it. And I started making YouTube videos almost every single day for like 8 months. And I went from 6,000 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers in less than 6 months by doing this. I was vlogging. Everything I was sharing it was like a 10 to 30 minute video 5 days a week. People were spending a couple of hours watching me and interacting with me every single week, which is a lot. It's a lot of intimacy. And it's a lot of like deep connection. And for me, I didn't even have a business model in mind. I wasn't doing it for business. I wasn't doing it to get clients. I was just loving it. I would love sharing. And my favorite thing was like editing videos and making the videos. It was so fun to make the workout music match the beat drop of my squat and like make it seem awesome. And I like remember, if I ever share videos with people now, I'm like, let me show you this one. Like, I love the edit that I did, and it was so fun.
Yeah.
And it just was like an artistic, creative outlet for me. And as someone who actually grew up as a kid singing, playing, being like really creative and drawing a lot and all of these things, I remember there was some point in hindsight where I suppressed that. And in high school, I did like AP English and stuff like that. But there was some point where it was like, that's not going to be the thing that makes me have a respectable career. Science is what I'm good at. And I remember saying in high school, I just don't have a creative side of my brain. I must just not have it. Never had it. I only got the left side. I know how to do tests. And it was just ridiculous, because that's like my creator archetype is my number one, which is so funny. So moving into my fitness career, again, things blew up. I did fitness coaching, which I absolutely loved. I also did brand deals. I was like a full-time influencer. I had half of my six-figure income. Well, I had a six-figure income from brand deals and a six-figure income from fitness coaching. Loved it. It was great. I got to this point where I recognized in the fitness space that the people that were really successful in like the little nugget of industry, that it was a very tiny bubble. We can get into these little bubbles in the online space of like the 30 people we follow, and we think that's all that exists. They had fitness clothing lines, like athleisure lines, gyms, or ebooks. And like some fitness coaches. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll make a clothing line. And I was like, sure. Funny, entrepreneur is my last. E-commerce would never be something that made sense for me. And I was trying to put myself in there because I was like, I don't know. What do I do? Like, I didn't find a place for myself. So I ended up meeting Lewis Howes. I joined his mastermind like a month after I found his podcast. And there was like Lori and Chris Harder in there. Jenna Kutcher was in there. A few other cool people were in there. And I was just like, what do you guys do on this like digital marketing thing? Email list, webinars, group coaching programs, had no idea, sales, all of that stuff. So I dive headfirst. Like everyone is super supportive. Everyone is like absolutely ready to collaborate and support. And I learned so much, and I dove headfirst into my entrepreneurial activation, I like to call it. Entrepreneur for me is last. So I spent a ton of money like hiring. My only mentors are entrepreneurs. So I hired Lewis and a couple of other people to help me with sales and to help me with my marketing and to help me with my team hiring and company culture. And I hired an OBM who was very entrepreneurial. And I spent tons of time like diving into this and really activating it. And I loved it. And I loved teaching business. But over time, what ended up happening was I was running a group coaching program, and I was in communities of people that were scaling their businesses, scaling to 7 figures. And I was like, I have an audience. I can do this. I can do all this stuff. Like, let me try to do all this stuff. Let me host this event. Let me have this membership. Let me add this product to my product suite. Should I be adding more products to my product suite? I don't think I can do only one product like these people say. And this person has a podcast studio, and like, maybe I should do that. And there was just an overwhelming amount of things that I was seeing other people doing. And there's so much power in trying, and there's so much power in that like self-discovery process of I did it and it didn't work for me. But what ended up happening for me, and I'm sure so many other people, was that there was guilt and shame around feeling like I should be doing something a particular way, and then it didn't feel good for me, or it didn't work out really well for me. And on the outside, things looked great, but on the inside, I hit burnout really bad in my business in November of 2018. Like coaching calls, I had a ton of mentors. I was like, I couldn't even get on my calls with my mentors because I was so tired. And I was like, I didn't even do the thing from last week. So I remember feeling that, and I was like, something has to change. But I still didn't feel prepared to go make that change. And I was still kind of stuck in this ego identity of like, I have to make this work and figure it out. I kept trying to figure it out, kept trying. And it's funny, 2018 and 2019, my revenue and profit rate were the exact same, like exact same revenue and exact same profit. I'm like, this is a pattern. What is this pattern?
Because you had really big growth previous years, right? So like that was such a sign that something wasn't quite right.
Yeah, it really was. And it was so much of how I felt as well. And I tried energy healing. I tried making sure that my self-care was on point. I tried making sure that like my emotional like clearing and everything was on point. And there was so much that I got out of that, but I recognized seeing all of my friends and people that like I'm really close with in the industry, like Lori and Chris, or Natalie Ellis from Boss Babe, or this person over here, this person over here. I'm like, why does it seem like what I'm trying to do is working for them, but it's not working for me? Like, what's wrong with me? And the only thing I kept asking for from my team and my business, and all of my decisions were coming from this place of wanting more space to create. And I was like, delegate this, delegate that, pay this person this, let's scale this thing so I can have more space. And then I was like, maybe there's a different way to do this. Maybe. Oh, so this past year, actually in November, I decided, you know what? I'm going to stop trying to scale my group program that I ran 9 times in a row, a 90-day group program 9 times. 250 people have gone through it in 3 years. I'm going to like close out that product that I had so much attachment to. I'm going to close out trying to do this, close out trying to do that. And I'm just going to give myself space to make this entrepreneurial archetype quiz, write my book that's been in me for like 8 months now. And then I'll just have clients this year, and then I'll see what happens. And here we are. The Entrepreneurial Archetype Quiz has been built, created. It's serving so many people, and so many people are having permission to be themselves when they realize, oh, that's just who I am, and I don't have to try to fit myself into a certain box.
Okay, like hearing you say it again and I hope you guys are all feeling the same way. Like I literally felt my shoulders drop, because it's funny how quickly that spirit of comparison sneaks in without us even realizing it. Especially the faster our businesses grow. I'm the same way. I'm in a mastermind right now around all these really high achievers, and watching what other people are doing subconsciously. Something that shows up all the time is, shit, should I be doing that? Would I be more successful if I did that? Is that how my business should look? And it is tough. It's tough to just really fight and stay in your own lane. But I think that the tool that you have produced is a great way to identify what those strengths of yours might be, and give you a litmus test to say like, okay, I think I want to try this new thing. Fine to try it. Like you said, there's power in that. But to know when to let it go if it's not aligning with how you're actually wired. So tell us how you even came up with this entrepreneurial archetype and what the purpose of it is.
Yeah, I love that. So the first thing that I initially thought of was, it was funny because I used to be in the influencer world, and influencers don't really think about business unless they also happen to be entrepreneurial. But there's so many, like the term is broke influencer. Like, I'm making so much content all the time, but I don't have any money. And it's just like, what is that? And I remember also really being in that. So the that was like one part of it. And then I saw this other group of people that were like highly entrepreneurial marketers, people that were hosting events and this. I was like, there's definitely like types here. Like, what is this? And like, where do I really fit in? And it was like seeing my mentor, Lewis Howes, who had his podcast studio. And I was like, I should have a podcast studio. And then hiring another mentor, Scott Olford. And I was like, nobody knows who he is unless they're in this little corner of the internet about like digital marketing. And I'm like, what is that? People that want to be in the spotlight versus don't, people that are building businesses to scale and sell versus people that are like, I just want to work with people one-on-one forever and ever. I'm like, what is all of this? And after working with so many clients, I was like, I just saw patterns. And archetypes are really just patterns of energy. There's so many different archetypes. There's zodiac signs, there's spirit animals, there's the Enneagram, which I am obsessed with, which really helped me for the first time see like, oh, I am like, this is so validating. Like I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which is
me too. Yes.
Wait, are you a projector also?
Is that human design? Mm-hmm. I actually don't know my human design. Just started to come. Okay, we'll have to we'll reconnect once I
my Enneagram, I was like, the 9 is like such a specific one. And I feel like our society doesn't reward 9s, or also the ego structure of the 9 on the Enneagram is very specific in that it will be so like present to the world as super nice and super likable, but really underneath there's like, I'm avoiding all of this conflict and feeling. So anyway, God,
that's another conversation for another day.
Conversation for another day. So yeah, recognizing that their archetypes are like inner templates of qualities, energies, motivations, core wounding, and patterns that really just give us a ton of information about like how we kind of came here. And when you think about birth charts and astrological stuff and zodiac signs, it's like the way that they determine all of that is like what was happening with all of the universe at the second that you came into the world. And it's like, oh, there's actually uniqueness to not just like our nurturance, right? Like our conditioning and how we were brought up to be, but our nature, like how we kind of just are as people. And there's, the percentage of that is all speculation unless you really want to get into the nitty gritty, but recognizing that there's 4 core archetypes that most people fall into. And there's also spectrums of them depending on where you're at in your business. There's healthy versus unhealthy as well, expressions of both. There's like a light side and a shadow side. It was revealed to me of just like working with so many people. So I'll go into what they actually are. And if you haven't taken the quiz yet, you can go to entrepreneurialarchetype.com. And if you can't spell entrepreneurial, there will probably be a link somewhere.
We'll put the link in the show notes so that, any of you who failed 5th grade spelling, actually that's probably like more advanced spelling, but
you know what? Entrepreneurial is hard.
Every time, like literally spelling it out, entrepreneur. That's how it is in my mind when I spell it. Yeah. And I am so excited for you to break down the types so people can even start to think about what they believe they are. And those of you that are listening right now and thinking, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, this doesn't relate to me. That's not true, is it?
No. Yeah. This is really like patterns of energy that show up for how you want to bring your big idea into the world, like what you teach on your podcast and in your community. It doesn't have to be an actual business. It can be your contribution to the world. It can be the thing that you want to do. And it's like the way in which you relate to how you need to show up. And it's like a part of your value system, what drives you and what your role is going to be in that venture, in that business, in that platform. Maybe you just want to host a podcast, you just want to host an event, or maybe you want to build something in your community and it isn't even about business and it's something that's a hobby or something that's a side hustle or something that is any project that's something that is a part of how you want to serve and contribute to the world. This is for you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dig in.
Those energies. Let's dig in. So the first one is the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur is kind of related to the fire sign. It's on the far right of the masculine feminine spectrum. It's kind of, I like to think about it as like the far right masculine. So it's that inner resilience, it's that structure, it's like the systems minded visionary that is connected to the bigger vision. So they are connected to that airy energy as well, but they are super ambitious. They are go-getters. They want to build things. They want to make things happen. And they are the people that really can truly change the world because they can see problems and then they can see a solution and they know how, or they have the energy to figure out how to make that solution come to life in a way that is efficient, that really works well. They're the people that will like slice through the chaos and they can be totally calm in the chaos. Like coronavirus, cool, doesn't matter, I'll figure something out. There's a problem, cool, there's new solutions I can make. Like, this is very exciting. And they're really comfortable in that space of like where people start to feel uncertainty and and other people might start to feel worried. The entrepreneur would be like, I got this, and they'll figure it out. So there's also the unhealthy expression of the entrepreneur, which can come out dependent on where you're at in your own self-awareness, personal development journey, ego journey, shadow work journey, all of that stuff. Their biggest vulnerability is really themselves because they are the ones that are going to be driving the project and driving the bigger vision in the systems. And if there is a place of needing validation or needing to control everything, there can be this like burnout that comes with the entrepreneur in that kind of space. So they might have some of that going on. The true entrepreneur is like the innovator, the disruptor. They are creating new things consistently. And you really activate your entrepreneur when you're strategizing, when you're building systems to make your life easier, when you are in maybe the back end of your business, or you're like figuring out the plan and how to execute that plan. It's like, what's my week going to look like? I'm going to strategize and figure that out and make sure that the way in which my week is going about is fully optimized so I can be in this space and make sure that I don't have any energy leaks. And like, that's really the energy of the entrepreneur. And then there's the teacher, which is like the earthy, down to earth, practical, reliable type. And they are the person that is the expert at what they do. And they have energy and desire. They have like this thirst for knowledge. And they have a desire to learn as much as they can about their subject of interest, even multiple subjects of interest. Like and you're smiling because I know that's you. They love
nailed it
and educating people. And my partner's also a teacher as well. Like he's like wanted to be a teacher since he was a little kid, and now he teaches writing, and he's read so many books. And again, the thirst for knowledge will really create potentially getting a lot of certifications or really valuing education or taking courses or classes and being the student. So you also activate your teacher when you go back into student mode and dive into remastering your craft again. But the shadow side of the teacher is that they feel, when unhealthy or when unintegrated, they can feel vulnerable or scared to show up as the student and to be seen as the person that doesn't have it all together.
Yeah.
So they can feel a little bit like, do I share my story or do I share what I'm struggling with right now? Like, I'm supposed to be the credible authority figure that people go to all the time. Does any of that resonate?
So true. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Which is all okay. But like, what an awareness, like what a cool recognition of like, oh, that's me. And like, that's the work that I get to do. And that's my life's work, to really allow myself to drop into that space while also being the teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. And then you really activate your teacher when you want to embody that authoritative kind of energy, like showing up on a podcast and being like, I'm an expert at this. Here's what I have to say. Versus the coach, which is the next one, who really waits to react to the human being. And they don't necessarily always wait, but they thrive in that kind of, I am reacting to your experience and I can support you through the depthful transformation. So the coach is the one who is really valuing intimacy, connection. They thrive in the depths. They're that water sign. So it's like, think of the ocean, like the ocean of emotion, the unconscious, the deep experiences with people, and they value that intimacy. Coach is my second one. So for me, it really shows up in like, I don't feel like I can master my creations without being in conversation with other human beings. Like if I'm not getting that feedback, I'm like, where is it? Like, what am I saying? What am I doing? I feel lost in a way. So they feel lost when they don't have that connection. You'll see coaches also be practitioners. They might be in-person people, but it's really, again, the way that you relate to humans. Like they're the people. They like the people, and their main priority is the person. But what will happen when unhealthy is that they'll have trouble with boundaries and people pleasing. So they'll really struggle if they haven't integrated this part of themselves yet, with over delivering, undercharging, not wanting to like have a client that doesn't have a good result, and that can potentially create a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of fear, and they might not fully show up in their power if they don't integrate that part of them. But you really activate your coach when you're potentially like working on your delivery system for your customer experience, when you're developing market research, even when you're figuring out what do I write in my sales page and my copywriting and my advertisements, because you need to get in touch with the emotion of your ideal customer. So the coach is where you really get in touch with that emotional experience of the person on the other side of the screen. And last but not least, there is the creator, which is my perception is it's like the far left feminine. So it's the one with like the most flow, the most openness, the most connected to the air, the sky, the ideas. They're ideas people. They are the people that are like, how are you creating so much content all the time? Like, why is this experience so beautiful? Like maybe they host a beautiful event, and like your guys' event, oh my God, such like beautiful branding. The branding's really pretty. They spend a lot of time like really being a master of that like creative craft. They love their creative process. You'll see these people like influencers, content creators, writers, performers, musicians, event hosts, like people that are just creating an experience that's like magical, and they really, really love that. But their shadow side is repelling structure. So they can be very avoidant of situations. They can just be like, I just want to be in my flow. Cannot be bothered with structure. This is like a part of the starving artist also archetype, where it's like, my creations are like everything. So they can be a little perfectionistic. They can be self-judgmental, and they can be avoidant and repellent of structure. So those are the 4 core archetypes.
Well, and it's funny you point out the event, because just this week we had our planning meeting to really start to get the vision together. And I had the 2 people who I rely on to be that creator side, because I actually think that might be one of my last. I think that one might be last for me.
We talked about that. Yeah. So you hire people to support with the branding vision.
Right. Yep. And literally to translate it visually. I have the bigger vision of what I want people to feel and what I want to teach, right? The attendee experience. And then I put that in the hands of someone who's a genius at the creation side, because I know that if I try to do it myself, I would feel really stressed, anxious, not in flow, all of the things. So
because it takes a lot of energy to be in your like last archetype.
Yeah.
Because it's not natural for you. So it like can be really arduous, and it can feel really like, oh my God, this is taking a lot of time, effort, energy. It's also draining me of energy, which is where we really actually see burnout. If you're in like your last one a ton and you don't realize it, you might be in a place of burning out, or you're in like your 3rd or 4th one and you're making that one of the things that you spend a lot of your time doing every single week. Might be time to reevaluate your business model.
Yeah. So I want to dig into this a little bit more, because this next layer of identifying, so you can take the quiz, you can identify what's most likely to be your top archetype. And you gave us like the most incredible breakdown of then how to, so everyone has essentially like an order that these 4 show up. And depending on the order, it really gives us some guidance about how to proceed in getting into action around our idea, and where we might need to enlist help from other types. So will you give us like the breakdown on that part?
Yeah, totally. And I love that. We're actually coming out with a second quiz that will eventually all be one, but there's so many layers and nuances. And the second quiz will help you figure out what your entire breakdown really is. And with that, going back into thinking of all 4 archetypes, you're probably thinking, I'm a little bit of all of them, or I resonate with this here, and maybe I'm not sure what my first one is, or my second and third seem really close. And I think that this is such an awareness thing because they are very seasonal and dynamic. So if you're in one that you're spending a lot of time in it, maybe it's your second, third, or fourth, you might feel like it's your second or third, but it might actually be your last one. I remember when I actually made it, I made an Instagram post before I actually made the quiz, and I was like, I'm all equal parts, all of them, which is so funny because I was equally feeling like I was in all of them, which is really just actually a level of self disconnection because I was disconnected from my creator archetype and putting an overemphasis on my entrepreneur archetype because I felt as though entrepreneur was a better one to be. And I put too much emphasis on that one. And I was really trying to be it. I was trying to like be that person that could have the scaled business and do all the things when I really actually fit best in the world in my mostly creator archetype, which is really interesting.
Fascinating.
I know. So funny. So the first archetype, your primary one, which you'll get when you take the first quiz, is like your North Star. It's that thing you'll always come back to. It's the thing that's the most aligned. You're the most skilled at. You spend or you will be spending the most time developing that one. And it'll just be like so exciting for you. It'll feel so easy to do it. Like you'll do it. You can do it for free in the beginning. You're like, I just want to do this. Like when you're maybe leaving a 9-to-5 and going into your business, you're like, that's the thing that I want to spend the most time in. And it's like your driving core motivator. Remember in my story, I was like, I just want more space to create. That was the only thing I want. And like, that's what I want to spend my weeks doing. Like whenever my mentors would ask me, what does my ideal week look like? I'm like, I want a full day to create here and a full day to create here. And I think another full day to create here. I guess I can do other stuff on the other days. Like just the way that you think about your week, you're like, if I could just spend most of my time in this thing, it would make me so happy and make me feel like me. It would make you feel alive, thriving, and like yourself. The second one, like your secondary archetype, is your asset. So it's the way in which you express your first archetype or the way in which you utilize your first archetype. It's like your wingman. It's your right hand archetype. That goes hand in hand with your first one. And I always tell my entrepreneur clients that you can build a 6-figure business just being in the first 2. Like you don't even have to activate the second or the third or fourth one. You can do really, really well just being in your first 2. It's complementary aligned. You are a quick learner. You enjoy it. You're down to like keep spending time there. It feels very comfortable to kind of be there. Like for me, coach is my second one. So I feel really comfortable in the coaching chair. If I were to pick a way to make more money fast, I'd be like, coach, for sure. Like, let me just get an extra client. Let me do this. And you're like, interesting.
I know. I think that might be my second as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm curious. So it really will match your first one in a really easy way that makes sense. And you're like, duh, these 2. The third one is the one that is less aligned, but not in a way that means you shouldn't be in it. It's just less of something that makes you feel really good. It takes a little bit more effort for you to do it well. It takes a little bit more energy for you to be like, okay, I guess I can do that. So for me, that's teacher. And I always shamed myself for the last 3 years of like, I don't want to do talks on stages that much. And like, it takes a while for me to think about like, how do I build out my talk? And I don't get feedback from people. And I would love people just responded to me. And maybe I don't want to do courses because it takes a lot of energy for me to like make slides and then film the videos. But I recognize now that it's just my third archetype. And in your third one is where you can activate the most to get the most leverage when you're like really getting into the next layer. It's where you activate to break past the growth plateau. So for me, it was very much so like for the entrepreneurial archetype, for example, I'm doing tons of podcasts and guest coaching and I'm teaching. I'm in my teacher mode, right? And I'm educating the world on the archetypes. And when I felt ready after I spent a lot of time in my coach, coming up with what's my process for how I coach people and how can I turn that into a curriculum and teach it? It's like where you build the most leverage and you break past either a business plateau or like an internal empowerment plateau where you're like, I can just activate this and feel really empowered.
Okay,
Does
this
that
is
make
like
sense for
so
you?
fascning. Yeah, I keep forgetting we're on a podcast and now I'm just pretending
You're
like
like, tell me
you're
about me.
coaching
No,
me,
it's
right?
helpful to have
Yeah.
it's helpful to have the examples though. So you think
Oh my gosh,
entrepreneur
yeah.
might be your third?
So I think entrepreneur is my third, and that's the one I've really been leaning into in the last 2 years, joining masterminds, like
Yeah.
really surrounding myself with people that I can learn from. But that's also one of the third and fourth are the place that I go to compare myself and think
Yeah.
that I need to be more of that. And this
Yeah.
is so eye-opening. So I hope you guys are getting just as much out of this, like
Yeah.
realizing where you tend to think you need to be more of one is
Yeah.
probably likely to be that third or fourth and just not
Mhm.
as natural.
Yeah. And it's like, it's okay for it to be not natural. And it's also not an excuse to not spend time there,
So huge. Yeah.
which is huge. It's not like, oh, I don't have to be that one, so I'm just going to avoid it. It's a
Yeah.
really beautiful growth opportunity, especially if you see room for yourself to expand in your impact level and the way in which you impact people. Again, impact doesn't necessarily mean more people or more money. It could just mean like if I'm a better teacher and I can teach this on a podcast, that means then there's potentially more impact or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
considering your third and fourth one as I don't have to be this, and it's okay that it's not that I'm not good at it, but it's not natural for me and it takes me a little bit more time, effort, and
Yeah.
energy. And it's all right if I like have to drop back or pull back on my first two to make my third and fourth one really work. That's why they're really seasonal as well. So
Yeah.
in my experience activating my entrepreneur a lot, what ended up happening was that I was spending a lot of my creative energy writing marketing copy and recording podcasts that were in direct help in converting people into my programs and stuff. And it was really powerful and it made me tired.
Mm.
So recognizing that, yes, it's like extremely helpful to activate them. And like it also forced me to spend a little bit more time business building and system building versus just creating a ton of content. In the beginning, I was like, I need to make 3 YouTube videos a week, 3 podcasts a week, Instagram post every single day. And I'm like, you know what? I don't actually have to be doing that much. Like that feels really fun and exciting, but it's beautiful to be in a season where you're activating the other ones.
Okay. And then the fourth, I already shared, I think my fourth, my last one would be creator. And so how I have unintentionally compensated for that is hiring others. But what
Yeah.
is actually the best way to approach it? Should we also try to tap into that type?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the facilitation type. So it's the one where you actually really should be getting some support, either from a business partner, a hire, you're delegating things, and or if you aren't at a place where that's what you want to do, activating that will be a really powerful growth opportunity for you. It's not always 100% necessary, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think I want to do this, but maybe I should learn it for my business, or maybe I should at least know how to do it so I don't feel super stuck. But when you do spend a lot of time in there, that's where you like drain your energy the most, which is where I really judged myself in the burnout because I was like, why am I so tired? And like we in our society shame and judge people for not having high achievements and not consistently producing and like the hustle mode type of society that we've been in, we collectively judge ourselves and other people for being lazy, fatigued, not producing enough, especially in this age where we're seeing people make content every single day and there's so much stuff to always make and it's like a never ending to-do list. So that place where you start to feel really tired, it can really affect your self-esteem and it can really affect the way you relate to yourself. So just knowing like there is an archetype that isn't really you. It's okay. You can practice it. Like you've probably spent time learning these things and you're like, I can do it, but I don't think I really should. For me, again, I recognize in hindsight that I spent so much money hiring entrepreneurs as mentors because I thought I was trying to be one, but I actually really needed to learn from them. And I also had an entrepreneur as my first online business manager and she helped me so much. So recognizing that hiring, delegating, outsourcing, getting support from a friend, getting support from someone who has that viewpoint or can like really guide you in the right direction is a really powerful thing. And also to just let go of any judgment you have against yourself.
Ugh, I just want to retweet all of this, everything you shared. It's so good. And I think just that piece about giving ourselves grace to not be all of the things. I know I can speak for myself, and I see it in so many of my, especially female friends. I think we're such
Yeah.
great multitaskers naturally that we believe deep down we should be all things. And that's
Yeah.
just not the case. We're all wired differently.
I love that. Yeah, really. I think it's such a I've been like in a thread of questioning with myself. I'm sure you have that too, where it's just like this, there's a loop over here that I question like every so often about life and the way things work. And I've been seeing and experiencing like the rise of the feminine and like the rise of women in business and women really taking ownership of their financial situation, of their life, of their dreams, of the things that they want to do. And that's actually fairly new. It wasn't that long ago that women couldn't vote or had to get a man to sign on their loan. And like it's not that far away from where we are now in 2020, which is insane. So there's been such a rise of women that are like figuring it out and making it happen, and like being the first women entrepreneur in their family, or like being the first millionaire in their family, and like all of these really awesome things. And it has almost created this like pendulum effect where it was like so far on one side, and now it's like swinging so far to one side where we're trying to really exist in the masculine space and maybe going a little bit too far over the edge to the point where we're burning out and not connecting to that other side as much, and not just allowing ourselves to be who we are, even if that's not super masculine and super in that like achievement space all the time. And we're also not allowing ourselves to rest as much as we really should. I think this pandemic right now is like a rest for the entire world.
Seriously.
Recognizing, oh, maybe I should do this more.
Yeah.
Kind of helpful.
Amen to all of the above. I mean, it really has been, it's been such an eye-opener if we're willing to learn from it. And I feel like just that's really the perfect sentiment to really tie this all together with a bow, that tools like what you've created that just give you another glimpse into yourself, your strengths, truly your unique gifts, is a powerful way to figure out why were you put on this earth, because we do all have a purpose. I see that for you and the work that you're doing, but I actually would love to know, what is your hope for what this archetype quiz and everything you're going to build from it? What's your hope for what that will do in the world, or what it'll do for people?
Yeah, I really love that. I'm so excited about it. And before I get into like what I hope it does for people, it's really funny when going back to that story in the beginning where I decided, you know what, I'm just going to give myself space for my book and my quiz and my clients and just let that be my year. I was really detached from having this quiz have like a financial outcome and a funnel or whatever. And I was just like, I just want it to be out there, and I can't think about strategizing my inspiration yet. I can't. So I let it happen, and I ended up talking to a friend. It was a friend of my partner's, and I was telling him about the archetype quiz, and he was like, I got to help you, dude. Like, I need to be in this some way, somehow. And he is deep entrepreneur, and he ended up becoming my business partner in this whole thing. And he's helping me build he's like so good at systems and entrepreneurship and the back end stuff and like making it have this whole experience. And he's creator second. So he like gets the creative vision, and he loves the energy behind the actual idea. And it's so beautiful how when you just allow yourself to be in your expression, things come to you. And it's really actually where you attract the most abundance, not in the way that you plan or think it should look. Letting go of the when and the how for me has done so much more for my level of fulfillment than any kind of like financial marketing strategy has ever done for me. So that's really my hope for other people, is to utilize this as a tool to kind of always have in the back of your head. Like, I don't know about you, but I always think about my zodiac sign or my Enneagram, and now my archetype. I talk about it like constantly. I'm like, you know what, because I'm this way and like I relate to this like this seems like a better decision for me. This seems like maybe the direction I should go, or maybe I should just let go of the judgment I have against myself right now and just let myself be who I am. And being able to do that has provided me with such clarity, such self-confidence, such empowerment, and results. Just like things are going my way, and not the way that I thought they should go, but the way that actually makes me feel like deeply fulfilled and good on the inside. So that's really my hope for people. I hope people take it. I hope people put it in their business coaching programs and have their clients take it. I hope that like it just becomes a thing where people just know their archetype and they're in the experience of having it kind of permeate their paradigm of thinking and help them just really make better decisions and judge themselves less.
Okay, like what more could we actually want for our lives than that, right? It's so good. Okay, so we are going to link the quiz in the show notes. Where is the best place for people to find you, learn more about you, Insta-stalk you?
Yeah, it's at Amanda Bucci on Instagram, and the Entrepreneurial Archetype has its own Instagram as well, which is a fun place for us to make all of the cool awarenesses of like, oh, this is totally me, and being able to share all the fun content. So Entrepreneurial Archetype on Instagram. Memes might be coming. I'd realized that I'm not like a one-liner. Like I'm not a meme. Like I've tried to make memes and I'm like, I suck at this. Like TikTok, I'm like, well, I can't think of like the one funny thing.
Right. Yeah. So, my husband, I don't know, maybe that's because he could be a creator, but his TikTok game, I told him, I said, you are like, he's the funniest person I know. I said, you're made for TikTok. And he resisted it until quarantine. And now I can't get him off of it.
On TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really addicting.
It's something, but it's you know, okay, so one final question, and this is what we've been asking guests like recently, but it's so interesting, especially in this time we find ourselves in. This is going to relate so much to what we talked about. So I want to know a moment for you in the last week or two, or however long you want to go back, that you really paused and you just were like, damn, like I am such a powerhouse. Like something that you would consider a powerhouse moment, big or small.
Yeah, I love that. This week, something I've really been moving through is detaching from the deeply conditioned pattern of needing to feeling like I suck or I'm not good enough or whatever, needing to produce and needing to be externally validated through business or social media, or like making sure people know what I have to say and how I have to say it, and I'm being seen somewhere. And there's just so many constant layers of that. And what I'm doing as of recently that really makes me feel like a powerhouse is, instead of bypassing that and then just doing the thing that I know makes me feel good, I just sit in it and I allow myself to feel, and I let go of judgment, and I compassionately forgive myself for that judgment, and just allow myself to do that versus bypass and do the thing that feels better.
Okay, girl, you are like officially my spirit animal. And thank you so much for your vulnerability, for all the value you poured into us. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm so grateful as well. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to have you on my show.
Yay! I know we get to do this date again soon.